Hey Disney Cruisers, and welcome back to the DCL community. We are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited about those Disney cruises. You guys know me, I'm Rebecca. I am your admin and your host. And tonight we are so excited to be talking about something that I didn't even know existed with Disney Cruise Line, and that's group cruises. So we are so glad to have Karen Shelton with My Path Unwinding Travel here with us tonight. Karen, do you want to introduce yourself quickly as people are coming in?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Shelton. I'm here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I own My Path Unwinding Travel. We're an authorized Disney vacation planner agency, which means Disney has recognized us for our sales and our expertise and our service. We have a team of about 15 advisors coast to coast that are here to work with you. And we are one of the few agencies that have taken the plunge to work with Disney Cruise Line on their group contract program. So I can't wait to kind of dive in with you and share the details.
Yes, I'm so excited. Like I said, guys, I didn't even know that this existed with Disney. So if this is something that you're interested in, that's Karen's contact information up on the screen. Reach out to her, send her an email, or set up some time to chat with her on her website. I'm so excited to learn tonight because I just feel like there's so much with group cruises. It's just untapped potential. So as we're going through this, if anyone has any questions, put those in the comments and we will do our best to get to them all. But with that, Karen, take it away.
Thanks, Rebecca. So yeah, you're right. A lot of people, say, wait a minute, Disney doesn't do groups. In fact, they do. It's very different and honestly, in some ways, a bit more challenging than many other cruise lines. And I will point some of those differences out as we go along. But Disney, in fact, does have a groups program. And what that means is that you can contract with Disney to secure group space for your group. And it used to be in the last year or so that you needed 8 staterooms for that group. And that is true of most cruise lines. Most cruise lines say if you have 8 staterooms traveling together, you can have a group and have all the benefits of a group. Disney recently announced that it is now 14 staterooms traveling together to form a group. But that shouldn't sway you if you have different types of folks traveling together. We can talk about different ways to conceptualize kind of what a group is.
Absolutely.
So let's see here if I can advance my slide somehow.
This is live TV.
We did it just before in the practice, and of course now it's here. Okay, let's see if that works. Aha.
Yay.
Okay. All right. So types of groups. So I want to kind of talk about the different ways that we can think about groups of people traveling together. And the first is the simplest, a linked reservation. And many of you watching probably have done that. If you have 2 rooms, you're traveling with your family, your friends, you can link the reservations. Your travel advisor can do it. And in that way, you will be dining together and you will be able to share in your port adventures together. So that's a really simple way to do that. However, for those of you who might have tried to do it with many staterooms, there's a limit to how many you can do online to linked reservations. I think it's about 6 or 7. I haven't tried it lately, but there's a point where it maxes out. And so it can get kind of complicated because maybe you really don't want to see, Aunt Sally's spa reservation. You just you want to dine with her, but you're seeing all of these things together because you are linked. But that is one way, just to have multiple reservations who are traveling together kind of connected. And Disney will know, hey, they're traveling together. Then the second way are what are called non-contracted groups. And sadly, Disney does not have that. I am going to keep my fingers crossed that at some point Disney will decide to add more options to their groups program to be competitive with other cruise lines. But I thought it important to note this because there are most other major cruise lines like Royal Caribbean and Celebrity and Princess let you have a group without signing a contract and without really getting locked into a high level of non-refundable deposits. You still have to kind of commit to a minimum of 8, but for most of these other cruise lines, if you build the group and you don't meet the group minimums, you don't really lose anything. You can keep the reservations you have at the rate that you have, and you might not get the full amount of perks that you were hoping for, but otherwise you're not going to lose anything. But sadly, Disney does not have that. As I said, Royal Caribbean is a big one, and we work with Royal on a lot of these non-contract groups. So, and then the next one is what are called promotional groups. And I'm going to kind of straddle that a little bit because all the cruise lines, other than Disney, allow travel agencies to take out group space without really even knowing who's going to sail in them. And so we have group space available to us through our different partnerships on literally hundreds of cruises, many on Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, sometimes on Princess, Norwegian, and many times those rates are lower than what you can get just if you went on the website. And often there's, some extra perks involved, like perhaps some extra onboard credit. The reason I'm straddling about this is because with Disney, you can do a contracted group, but also have it be a promotional group. And we'll talk about that at the end, in that we have 2 contracted groups with Disney going on right now that the listeners here can decide to join us on. So we have enough people that we were able to kind of commit to a contract and take the plunge, but we can also open it up as a promotion to others. And then the last type of group, and this is technically the only true group program that Disney has, is the contracted group. And that truly requires an actual legal agreement between Disney and whoever is committing to the group.
Got it.
So let's talk about what the terms look like. Remember, as I said, with Disney Cruise Line, you have to commit to 14 rooms. So it doesn't matter how many are in the room, but you need at least 14. And at the time of the contract, you will be expected to pay a deposit of 25% of all of the rooms that you have agreed to. So we'll talk about the benefits of doing that. But let's say you think, well, maybe I'm going to have, it's a big celebration. This could be combined with a wedding. So we could work with the weddings team as well. It could be combined. It could be a birthday party. It could be come sail with Rebecca and the Disney Cruise Line community. So there's lots of different options. But let's say you're like, I know we're going to have 14 for sure. So I feel confident about that. But maybe we're going to have 20. So you can actually have a contract for more rooms, and then before final payment, what's called trim those down by up to 25%. So the terms will kind of go through all of that to let you know, okay, if I don't fill all the space, this is, kind of what I can get rid of.
Got it.
Disney Cruise Line also requires a second deposit on their group space. So the initial deposit is that 25%, and then there's another deposit, which is basically approximately another third, and then the final payment. Another important distinction for Disney Cruise Line groups is that gratuities must be prepaid. Okay. And the Disney Vacation Protection is not an option for contracted groups. But that is one of, several reasons that you would work with a travel advisor, because we have many other options for policies that, would be fitting for groups. But one nice thing about Disney Cruise Line groups is that you can do name changes. So you actually, when you plan a group, you don't even have to give them any names. And they hold all that space without any names. And we can do name changes. I'll have to review, but I think it's up to 30 days prior.
Wow.
We can change almost everything out about, who's going in each stateroom. So there is some flexibility there, even though it is a higher level of deposit and a higher level of financial commitment.
Yeah.
So we're often seeing these with folks that, are very committed to having a large group traveling together. This is a great idea for a big family group where maybe grandma and grandpa are paying. It's great for businesses. So, there might be a business that wants to take, their whole team on a cruise and as a reward or incentive.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of folks that we most often are seeing on a Disney cruise contract.
Awesome.
So why would you do this? Why would you sign a contract and pay 25% when the deposit is, 20% for most cruises? And why would you, agree to maybe have your deposit be non-refundable when most staterooms on Disney except concierge are refundable? There are definite benefits. And one of the biggest benefits is that your pricing and your availability are locked in. So when you sign that group contract, you will know that you have a certain number of rooms in each of the categories requested. You will know what the price is, and that price will not change.
Wow.
So whether you book it, a year in advance or, 75 days in advance or whatever prior to the final payment cutoff date is, the price is going to stay the same and that room is held for you and your group. So that is really a nice benefit. And then on many, many sailings, Disney will offer an actual discount above what you might see on the published rate. So, they definitely will do this as a way to help fill the ships. And if you, can commit to, again, at least those 14 rooms, the discounts can be 25% or so. So they can be significant.
Wow.
Depending on the sailing. So, right now, when the Wish came out, they weren't going to offer any kind of discount on a new ship that was filling up quite nicely. But some of the other sailings, they might, out of, some of the ones on the less popular sailings out of, let's say, Miami or Fort Lauderdale, sometimes they run specials on that, and that would be a great one for groups. Even Alaska sailings occasionally do have availability for discounted rates on groups. And the earlier you get in on that, the better. Technically, we can start working with Disney groups even before the sailing is open to the general public. Ooh. And, there's some ins and outs to that, but and sometimes it can be a little frustrating because not everything is locked in and, they're still going back and forth on setting their pricing. But it is a way for, super early on to get some good rates.
Wow. Those are people are always asking about how to get a discount on a Disney cruise. If you've got a big enough party, that can be substantial. Even if it's not that, any sort of discount on a Disney cruise is a huge win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, if you have a group that may travel together or you think you're close, you should definitely reach out to me or one of the other travel advisors, because you know what, we might have some folks that are looking at that similar cruise and we might be able to join forces and make it happen. So let's say your group might only have 8 or 10 and you're like, I just don't know if I'll be able to find the next 4. Well, that's what we're here for. We might be able to help fill that group.
Oh, that's awesome.
So some other benefits are the dining. Disney will hold back that dining space for your group. So if you say we want all of the tables to be together in main dining on the same rotation, they will do that. And so we know how sometimes main dining can be challenging, but they will do that. If you want them all together in late, or if you want them split up, or, any of those kinds of things, they will arrange that. They can arrange for everybody to be sitting together, or they can arrange for just certain subgroups to sit together. But the groups department is really responsive in working together on that for dining. And then one of the benefits that Disney Cruise Line offers is a cocktail party. So if you meet your 14 room minimum, then they will host a 1 hour cocktail party for your group. Ooh. So that is a great way for everybody to get together. Now, any add-ons could, it's possible that there might be the option to add on to that, like have a photographer there or have a character appearance there. Those would be for additional fees. But sometimes there's other concessions that are made depending on the size of the group. So again, that's where you work with your travel advisor to see, how that can work out.
Yeah, especially with so many people saying how long some lines are to meet characters. If you can have like a semi-private session with Mickey or Goofy or whoever it is, that would be fantastic.
Exactly. So now other cruise lines do have what I would say are a more robust kind of group benefit program with more flexibility. So you might say, my group doesn't want a cocktail party. We don't drink, or we have a lot of kids, or, it's just not how we want to spend our time. So other cruise lines offer different ways of using your group benefits. And so they might have onboard credit for you. So a lot of our promotional groups from Royal Caribbean, for example, have an additional $50 to $75 onboard credit automatically built in.
Wow.
Sometimes you can say, we don't care about onboard credit, but we really want something fun in the rooms for all of our guests. So, we can send strawberries, or like a little beach set, or a bottle of wine. So there's all different options when you have a group on other cruise lines. And then complimentary berths will vary based on the cruise line. But oftentimes, if you have, at least 8 rooms with 2 people per room, you may get some funds towards a free, quote unquote, I hate to say it, but a free, quote unquote, room. So if you can put a group together for that, again, that's talk to your travel advisor about the terms of all of that.
Wow, that would be amazing.
So I want to talk about 2 groups that My Path Unwinding has as an example, and also to invite anybody listening. We have 2 groups. Ignore that little dining up there. That's just an error from a other slide. 2 groups that are coming up next June and July on the Disney Magic. Both are going to to Lighthouse Point, the new Disney destination, private island destination. So the June 19th is a 3-night out of Fort Lauderdale, and that cruise is hosted by the DCL duo, who has been on with Rebecca, and Brian and Sam are fantastic. And that group is really filling fast. We have a limited number of staterooms available. We have a concierge stateroom or 2 available that are not available online. So if you tried to book concierge on that sailing right now, you couldn't, but you could through us. Oh, wow. And we have some pricing that, again, because our pricing is locked in, this pricing is now better than what's available publicly. And then similarly, on the July 15th 5-night, that goes to both islands, Disney's Lighthouse Point and Disney's Castaway Cay. And that is with sailing with Angie Gargaro, who is on our team now at My Path Unwinding. And she used to be a member of the Plan Disney panel as the Disney Cruise Line specialist. So I consider her a celebrity. If anybody knows my story, I was obsessed with the Disney Parks Moms panel, which is now called Plan Disney. And so she and many of the other Plan Disney panelists are sailing together and are inviting others to sail with them on July 15th. So again, we have those 2 groups kind of locked in. And, it's a rare thing, again, for Disney to have sort of group space available. So wanted to point those out. And of course, we have plenty of group space on, as I said, many other ships. We just took group space out for the new Utopia of the Seas on Royal Caribbean that's coming out. So we have lots of options. And we'll talk about groups on Virgin on Wednesday.
Yes, yes. So if I am still trying to figure out my summer plans for next year, right? The bookings for the chunk of next year just released today for the general public. But if I'm still trying to figure out next year's summer plans, I can just join one of these groups. I don't have to know who the DCL Duo is or what Plan Disney
Correct.
is, and I can still get
Correct.
all the
There's
benefits.
a special way to book it through our agency. And as you saw from the beginning, some of the terms are a little bit different, but they are well worth it because you will get to join some amazingly fun people. First of all, I will be on that first sailing myself on the
Oh,
DCL
so
Duo
fun.
sailing. And of course, the DCL Duo will be there. And, you'll get some great pricing, get to see the new Lighthouse Point. And so there's some really fun reasons to consider that for next summer.
Wow.
Or consider, how we, if you're thinking about an event, family reunion, work event, those are some great options to talk about. Milestone birthday, or definitely a wedding. Weddings are, kind of combined. You do not need a group contract to have a wedding on board Disney Cruise Line. But if you're already going to have that many people joining you for your wedding, then you should.
Yeah, I was going to say, why not take advantage of the benefits with that?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is just, my mind is blown at how many benefits there are. And I didn't even know this existed. This is awesome.
Most people did not. And, I think I'd like to say it is an evolving program. Before, the only way to do a Disney cruise group was, maybe if you were going to do like a full ship charter, and there's a few of those out there. And if anybody wants to do one of those, feel free to reach out. We'll work together. Those do happen. Sometimes there were some large corporate groups, but now they have expanded the program to make it more accessible to kind of everyday people. But as I said, they're tweaking because it was, even as of a few months ago, it was just an 8 stateroom minimum, and now it's 14. I think as they add new ships and have new destinations and are trying to fill the ships, that might evolve over time.
Got it. Good to know. And then a couple of, do we have more slides or?
That's it. I had to abruptly end my slide except for my thank you. And my contact information. So what questions have come in?
Yes. So questions about a wedding. So would they book the wedding through you, or would they book it through Fairy Tale? What is it? Disney Fairy Tale Weddings? Is that what it's called?
So when you're working with a travel advisor, we recommend that your wedding has to be attached to a reservation. So we need to get the group or the individual reservations started, and then we would add the wedding package of your choice to that reservation. And then we would, then you would have the contact with the Fairy Tale Wedding team to plan all the details of the wedding. And we, as the travel agency, would work with all the guests on getting all of their reservations arranged.
Got it. Okay. So that sounds like so much stress would just be lifted off bride and groom, whoever's shoulders in the planning process, because they're not having to worry about every individual person's reservation. I mean,
I always recommend, even if you don't think you have 14 staterooms, if you're doing a Disney Cruise Line wedding, please use a travel advisor.
Yeah.
The bride and groom does not need to worry about all of the guests and all of their individual questions and issues. And that's one of the things we love doing with our weddings and vow renewals, whether it be on board a cruise ship or at an all-inclusive resort, for example. We take care of all of that. There's so many questions and issues that come up. We help facilitate and ease all of that communication. The bride and groom should just focus on making their day special and not having all of the noise from all of the wedding guests.
Oh, that's amazing. And such a good way to look at it.
Absolutely.
And then I know we've gotten this question a couple of times in the group, do travel advisors get like a room block? like you might get for a wedding, you might get it for the hotel. Do you get any sort of room blocks on every sailing, or is it just on the sailings that you have groups for?
So for Disney, you have to have a contracted group to have
Mhm.
what's called a room block. And as I said, it's very rare for travel advisors to have room blocks and that are kind of open to the public to book into, like the ones that I had just shared earlier. That's unusual because to make that commitment to a contract is a financial commitment. So many folks won't unless they already know that, hey, we have a bunch of people that want to sail together, like we did for the DCL Duo. And then we just took out extra space because we wanted more friends to join us.
Yeah.
On other cruise lines, we do have many room blocks that are available. And so, a lot of times it's just check with us and we can tell you what is available, and sometimes we have group rates that, as I said earlier, are better than what you can see that's published. And
Got it.
also holding the actual room. Sometimes it's like, well, why is it that I can't see any of that category? It's because it's being held by the room block.
Got it. Good to know.
Yeah.
And speaking of those rooms, we got a question about the categories of rooms that you can have. Is it all categories? Do you have to choose?
It is. It actually is. In fact, on the groups that we have everything from the Royal Suite down to inside cabins held. Of course, we had the Royal Suite held because we knew somebody wanted it.
Yeah.
But it's really nice, especially for concierge, because we can hold the specific concierge categories that often do sell out and have all of those locked in. But we can lock in any of the categories in any combination as long as it's a total of 14 rooms.
Got it. And then you can always add more from there.
You can add more, but the pricing, would change. So let's say you want to be conservative. It's a great question. And say, we know we have 14, but we don't know that we have any more, and we don't want to, risk it. So you can add more. The pricing may or may not change. That's just going to depend on Disney's revenue department and how they work with the group, with that group, and what's going on with the rest of the sailing, how much space is available.
Got it. Okay, good to know. And then we got a question about who pays for the deposit.
So Disney does require, and I should have put that on the other slide, it does require a single payer. So again, there's ways around that. I mean, sometimes we can use 2 or 3 credit cards. But again, so if you know that you have a group, but one person doesn't want to have to pay that entire deposit, that's another reason to talk with a travel advisor, because we have ways of kind of being the funnel for those funds that would then go into Disney. That is one time where your travel agency might collect funds. As you know, 99% of the time, the funds, so when you pay a travel advisor, go directly to Disney Cruise Line.
Mhm.
In a group situation, it may be, and this happens on our 2 groups, the funds do come in through the travel agency, and then the travel agency turns and pays that to Disney Cruise Line, because they will not work with 14 to 20 or more individuals on that group. It really has to be a single kind of point of contact, maybe with a second.
Got it.
So that's why it's really important to use a reputable agency and authorized Disney vacation planner, and one that you can check out that has the right reputation.
Yeah. So you help coordinate all of that. And I guess you work with who's ever the kind of the point person of the group, and then you can keep everybody on the same timeline. So it's really not
Absolutely.
relying on that primary planner.
Exactly. Every group situation is a little different depending on the scenario. So, a wedding is going to be different, where everybody is paying maybe their own way versus a corporate trip or a multi-gen trip with grandma and grandpa paying. So we just need to consult and decide which is the right approach for your group to get
Yes.
the best benefit.
And last 2 questions that I'm seeing. One was about flights. Can you help with flights?
So yes, we can help with flights, and oftentimes, especially if we have a lot of people on the same on the same flight, then we may be able to assist with group air as well, which can also
Wow.
lock group rates in. So otherwise, it may be looking at individual flights and, pre and post cruise arrangements. So it's just, again, it's really a case by case basis.
Fantastic. Okay, so just reaching out and having that conversation. And then if the group cruises that you mentioned don't work for some folks, is there a way to find other group cruises?
I would just say trusty Google. I really don't know how to say, anything more than that. I haven't seen any of our other colleagues in the recommended TAs have any at this point. They might, but I would say just Google or reach out, because sometimes, even though travel advisors all work for different companies, we do really work together and collaborate and try to support each other. So if I knew of a colleague that had a group on a different sailing and somebody came to me and said, I'm interested in that sailing, or, do you know of anything? I would definitely help facilitate that, even though it's not my agency group. So, sometimes just talk to whoever you're working with and, search around. But as I said, with Disney, groups are going to be fewer and far between. With the other cruise lines, there's often many. So just reach out and we can talk about it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know about you guys. This has inspired me to book a group cruise. I feel like it is time. But if you guys have any questions, if you are interested in booking a group cruise, that is Karen's page on the DCL community website. Her planning services, whether it's just you in one stateroom or whether it's 14, 20, 50 staterooms, are totally free. So use her as a resource. Her entire team is here to help you. And if you can get on those group sailings that already exist, get those benefits. That's amazing. But
absolutely. And I mean, we have 250,000 people as part of the DCL community now, Rebecca.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It might be time for us to look at this, and because, it might be time for us to sail together in person. So stay tuned, everybody.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. Well, Karen, thank you so much for all the education tonight. I am so inspired. Thank you for your time, and we will see all of you on board. Bye, all.